YouTube, what's up, man? It's your boy Richardson from Minimum Wage to Millionaire. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here, welcome back. So I got a video for you guys today. I've been slacking, haven't been putting out the 2 videos a week like I should. In fact, the last month, every week I only put out 1 video and I feel very bad. So I want to kind of come up there and do another one. I'll have another one put out in a couple of days. But I wanted to talk to you guys about why you should donate and tithe, or slash tithing, charitable contributions, however you want to phrase it. Now, the 2 major benefits, in my opinion, to tithing or donating, the first one, of course, is going to be more spiritual. And I think the more important reason, I am a Christian, so I am a little biased, and that is that God has blessed me with 100% of everything I have, right? The Bible tells us that God, everything in the world and everything in the earth belongs to Him. I need to remember if I remember the verse, I'll put it in the description below. But He gives us everything. So who are we, right, to say, okay, thanks for giving me 100%, I'm going to keep all of it, versus, okay, you gave me 100%, and at least back in the Old Testament, tells us to give the first fruits, fruits of your increases, right, which usually is around 10%. So give a 10th of your first interest. So the way I look at it is that, well, if God gave me 100%, who am I to be like, yeah, thank you, God, but I'm going to keep all 100%. No, He gives you 100. He's only asking for 10, at least in the Old Testament. Now, I know in the New Testament, it's more emphasized on giving what you can and being a cheerful giver, and how even, with Jesus' example back in the times where Jesus was walking on earth, when he compared the older lady who was giving the last of her money versus the people that were giving out of abundance. Then yes, technically from a material standpoint, the people out of abundance was giving more, right, monetarily, but Jesus, obviously, God in the flesh, He could read hearts and see to the minds of people. He was able to peer through that and realize that, bro, she gave more generously in her heart and with gladness, as opposed to the people that gave because they just had so much that why not give, right? So what I do as a Christian, spiritually, of course, is give. Right now I'm giving about 10%, because I think 10% is pretty much a good foundation to start when you're in the path of giving. If you could give more, that's great. If you can't give 10%, if you can give less, that's fine. Again, the importance is give what you can, and make sure when you do give, you're not giving under compulsion. Again, I forgot the verse. I'll figure out the verse. I think it was in Romans, maybe Galatians, where it tells us to give, because God loves a joyous giver. And make sure you give within your heart, not because you feel forced or you feel, forced to do it. So that's the first major reason. Again, a little bit biased. I am a Christian. But I think even people that are not of the Christian faith, or people who are, let's say, atheists and they don't believe in God, I think you would do really well with, of course, giving. Again, it doesn't have to be to the church, because if you're not a Christian, you're probably not going to give to a church. You'll probably donate and give to other organizations, maybe an organization that, aligns more with your values, or maybe give to friends and homeless and all that stuff. So I think you'll still find value in that despite it. But also, secondly, and this is more psychological, is that it breaks the bondage that money has on you. We've all seen it, and if we're being honest, because we're all imperfect, we're all flawed, we ourselves probably have these moments. And some of you guys might get mad at me. You may be going through this right now, and that is the idea of, hey, I make money. Every dollar I earn, it's mine. I don't care. It's my money. I don't care. Mine. And what this ends up doing is that it creates, whether you realize it or not, kind of a hoarding, mentality of, hey, this is my money. I don't care. I spend it the way I want. It's me. When you give, when you tithe, when you donate, you psychologically break that mindset, because you're, again, hopefully within the joy of your heart, right? Don't give because somebody holds you at gunpoint and say, hey, bro, run up that bag, or you go night-night, because that's not really giving, that's extortion, that's blackmail. Right? It's illegal, it's unethical. God does not condone that, right? But when you give because you genuinely want to, you want to help people, you want to help an organization, you want to help your church, or you just want to help a homeless person you see out on the street. When you give under those guidelines, what you end up doing is that you shatter the hoarding mindset that you may have had or you do have, and it forces you to view money as, hey, money at the end of the day is a tool, and I won't let money dictate how I am. I dictate how I use the money, right? And tithing and giving, in my opinion, and if you don't believe me, just try it out, right? Create a system, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. Create a system where you can do that, and you will see that money no longer becomes a hoarding mentality. Now, obviously, it's an exercise, right? So in the beginning, it's going to be hard, but once you flex those muscles, you create that system. And it's something, of course, again, I always say this, you have to do it out of joy, meaning you're not forced to do it, but you genuinely want to do it. Once you create that system, it becomes automatic, and then you don't have that hoarding mindset, right? And you're not allowing the money to shape you. So I don't want to make this video too long. I want to just end off with the way I tithe and how I give back and what type of systems, and also to give you guys some ideas on how you can start doing it, right? So I started tithing towards the beginning of this year, maybe a few weeks into the new year, which I always kind of felt bad and ashamed, because I always felt like I wanted to give, but like many people, again, I had that hoarder mentality. And two is that I always had this false misconception that, I need to wait till I get financially independent and then start being generous. But like I said earlier, with the time where Jesus was in at the temple, with, there was two groups of people. Again, it was the older lady who didn't have a lot. She was poor, right? Again, I don't like to use the word poor, but that's what it is, poor. And then compared to the people that had so much more money, he said that she gave more than they, even though not from a monetary standpoint, right? So when you do give, right, when you want to give and create that system, right, you want to make sure that you're giving what you can. So look at your budget. Don't be one of those people that give 40% off the bat, and then towards the end of the month, you can't pay rent. No. Create a system. Where do you want to give? How much do you want to give? How much can you afford to give? That's why I would advise to do a budget first, to kind of make sure, hey, I know where my money's going, blah, blah, blah. Because like I mentioned in that video, your budget gives your money structure, right? You tell your money where to go. And that also includes your tithing. So I would advise to put in your budget. And then think about the places you want to donate. Find places that you want to donate that are aligned with your values. Again, I'm a Christian, so obviously my local church that I very much appreciate it, I value, I see the work that they do, how they serve the community. Unfortunately, not all churches serve the community as they should, especially from a biblical sense. It's unfortunate, but when you do find a church, it makes it that much more valuable and want to give. But it doesn't have to be church. Again, it could be a plethora of things like giving, to a homeless man, or giving to like a dog, what's it called? A dog pound, or animal shelter. That's what I mean. Animal shelter, homeless shelter, etc., etc. So you want to make a budget. And then what I would advise is that every time you get an increase, every time you get a wage, every time, let's say you start a business and your business, make 20% more, allocate a portion of that percent to increasing your tithing. That way you're not in a situation where you make significantly more money, but you're still tithing, let's say, for example, 1%, right? So you want to just give that increase. But again, you want to make sure that it comes from a good financial stewardship mindset. Because the last thing you want to do, like I said, is give 40%, and then at the end of the month, crap, I can't pay the rent, right? That's not good. And of course, God, although he loves when we tithe and give back and donate, he obviously calls us to be good financial stewards, right? Stewards of his resources. And if we're just tithing any amount and we're not factoring that in, then we're not really being good stewards. So, and another thing I would say is, If you can, depending on when you're going to tithe and how you're going to tithe, like if you're going to tithe to your church and your church has a banking app, then you could set up automatic, so that way it's not a situation where you have to actively do it and schedule it. Then instead you could just make it so that, hey, I get paid the same amount every 2 weeks or whenever often you get paid. And then you could factor that in and be like, okay, well, I'll make it so that I tithe this much amount. So that way it's an automatic thing. Hey, my payday, it's going to my bank, or it's going to the homeless shelter, it's going to this, that, and the third. And then it just becomes a habit. That's the reason why 401ks are so successful, is that once you set up the contribution, that's it. It just does it automatically. You don't stress about it. By the time you even notice, the money's already gone, right? Now, obviously, if you no longer want to give or tithe, or you want to make adjustments, you make sure that you're adjusting, so you should still check on that. But create a system where it's automated, so you have less, human faults, because, as human beings, sometimes you may be like, I know I want to give, but I want to turn it up, right? And don't be ashamed of it, but again, just make sure you keep an eye on that whole system, so it just works and flows. Yeah, again, I don't want this video to be too long. Thank you guys very much for tuning into the channel. Thank you guys for watching my videos. Feel free to comment on any of the videos. And again, thank you guys. You guys have a wonderful Friday. It's your boy Richardson from Minimum Wage to Millionaire, checking out. May the Lord be with you all today. Have a nice day.